Hello, in this particular video we're going to talk about pointing, and that will include preparation, the actual job itself, and then the aftercare. Now before you start you need to get yourself some tools. So what we would recommend is that you'd have a churn brush, a small brush for cleaning out between the joints, plaster, a small tool for actually putting the material into the wall, a plugging chisel for raking out, a wire brush for cleaning down the wall. Churn brush can also be used for cleaning down the wall. And then a hawk. This is just one I make up myself. It's out of a bucket lid. If you're right-handed, you take a piece off here, you split it down the middle, and that's quite a useful little tool just for putting the material from the bucket to the wall, and I'll show you how it works. We have our trowel and we have our pointing mix here that we made up in an earlier video, so we'll use that. And also pump spray for damping down the wall. And of course we've got some Hessian then for aftercare, so that we can protect it from either frost, rain, wind, the sun. So they're the tools that you're going to need before you start. Okay, we got a wall here now. We're going to point up some of this. It's in pretty good order, but there's quite a bit of vegetation on it. So the first thing to do is just to brush it down with the churn brush and try and get rid of as much as you can, and then you'll know what's more difficult to get rid of. So this is cleaning out between the joints. Alright, now there's some stuff here that's a little bit more persistent, so we just give it a rub of the wire brush and it gets out most of the mosses and the vegetation that's there. We get growth like this, so we remove it by hand as much as possible. Sometimes if there's mosses and lichens and the likes that you want to get off the wall, you might use a biocide. But in this particular case, it's not too bad. Now, sometimes if there's old pointing in the wall and you want to get rid of it, what we use is, we use a pointing or a raking out chisel and a lump hammer. We don't really like using power tools because they can do a lot of damage. So this takes a little bit longer, but it's worthwhile. Now the advantage of the plugging chisel, you can see by the shape of it, it'll go into the joint but it won't get wedged. Whereas if you use something like a cold chisel, the wedge shape, it goes in and it jams and it does damage, whereas this one won't. So this one, you literally just catch it and you just move it along and you clean out any places that need cleaning out. You don't need to go in too deep. A rough rule of thumb is if there's an inch here, you go in 2 inches, but if it's 2 inches wide, you're not going in 4 inches because you could go through the wall in some cases. So what you do in those cases, you go into where you think you've got firm material, and then you would add something like this, a penning, into these bigger joints just to close the joints, so you don't get a huge amount of muck in there. You get some mortar and then you push in little pennings like this, which help to close the joint. Now I'm going to give this another brush down, and for the smaller joints I'm just going to use this, so it'll go right in here. Now, very important, before you use any lime, that you always damp down the background, and that goes for any type of plastering, rendering, pointing. You always wet down the background. You don't need a huge amount of water, but you need enough just to kill the suction. So I'm just running it along into the joints, just to get the area moist. So that's probably enough.